You see, I became a judge because I believed in fairness, justice, for a child to know they're safe under the eyes of the law. But when I buried my daughter, I learned something else. The law is blind. You have to understand, you can't escape your sentence once your hand's been dealt. And fortune is fickle. It weighs an honest man the same as a fool. So I decided it's up to me to tip the scales. The world's much simpler when you presume everyone's guilty.
To knock it over? Or should I?
I'm only here to take you down.
So, it'll fall when it falls.
You can't hide this madness.
I'm not hiding in madness. I'm reveling in it. And reveling, two sides of the same coin.
Hey everyone, hey chat, and welcome to a developer livestream for update 2.4 and the Judgment of the full event. And you just saw the awesome trailer for the event, so I hope you all enjoyed it. And I'm here with the one and only design director for Hunt, Dennis.
Hi, how's it going?
It's so nice to see you all. We are live from our headquarters from Frankfurt. This is one of the first dev streams that we do after a long time, and it's a completely new setup. So please let us know how you like it and what you would like to see in the future. But I think we can say that we are both super happy to finally be here and talk about all the amazing changes in the event. So Dennis, what do you think we dive into it and go through all the event? All the updates, we have so much in store for you all, so let's do it.
Let's go for it.
It's been a while, so
everybody's here.
Yeah, if you're a bit rusty, don't hate on us. And yeah, I must mention that we will have a Q&A segment at the very end of the stream. So our moderators and community managers are in the chat, lurking and collecting your questions, and we will try to answer as much as we can at the end. And of course, after the stream, we will look through the forums, Reddit, the comment sections on social media, where by the way, you should totally follow us, subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Twitch, and we will try to get back to you as much as possible, and hopefully we will have more dev streams in the future.
Absolutely.
And even more community related streams where we can talk to you more directly.
Cool.
So let's do it. Let's dive into it and let's see the update.
Ooh.
Yes, so obviously this is not just the Judgment of the full event, which is coming on Wednesday, but also update 2.4. And yeah, as I said, we have a lot in store for you, so let's talk about it. First of all, the event date. As we mentioned already, it starts?
It starts from June 18th, which is like when the update goes live. Event starts, which is like only 2 days from now.
Yeah, and I think it's Wednesday, right?
Yeah. Wednesday, yeah. And then we run until September 17th. So that gives you quite a lot of time to go through the whole thing.
And as always, we have a brand new battle pass with the event with a premium and free progression, and you will have 40 rewards in that, which includes 3 hunter skins, a bunch of weapon skins, weapon charms, inspect animations, blood bonds as usually, and it's gonna be super awesome. But we did changed the pacing of the event progression. So Dennis, could you tell us about that?
Yes, so this event is running a little bit longer, and we're talking about like 13 weeks rather than, for example, 6 weeks, which we had for Garden of the Witch. That means, though, that you have a bit more time to actually complete that. So overall, what you do now is you have a few more points you can earn per week, but a lot more weeks to run through. We've also used that to kind of update the challenges a little bit. So we heard the feedback from our in-between time with Garden of the Witch. We have 5 challenges now instead of the 6 we had before. One of them is obviously reserved for the premium track. However, the total amount of blood bones you can earn will still be 50, because one of those 4 free ones will also give you 20 instead of 10 BBs. So everybody can still kind of get the same rewards as they used to. And then overall, the event is a lot more relaxed because you earn a lot more points from the challenges. And that means you can just like spend more time in the event, play through at your own pacing. And I think the goal for us is that more people should be able to complete this. And I think the longer duration helps a lot. So we've heard the feedback about this one, and we're trying this out this time, which I think is very, very exciting.
And of course, feedback is still super important for us. Yes. So just let us know how you feel about the changes, and we will adjust on the after the event and
Absolutely.
for future events.
As always.
But it's not just the event that starts on Wednesday, but we have a brand new Twitch drop campaign that goes until July 9th after the start of event. Yes. So players will have multiple weeks to earn. And can you tell us like what's in Twitch drop? So
yes, so we started the Twitch drop campaign right from the beginning, and like we intentionally made it a longer campaign this time around. So we want people to come back. We want people to enjoy the new DeSalle, which we're going to talk about more later in the stream. And we do have a new weapon skin, so we're going to heard you that you want new rewards and also a charm. And people can earn those as they go through and at their own time. Watch the partners, watch other people, have a good fun time there, and get the rewards at their own pacing. And
actually, that you mentioned the rewards, you can already go to handshowdown.com/Twitch drops and check. I think the new packs out and the charm on it, and there's also information about how to link your account. So please make sure that you first of all link your account on our website, and then also the platform through Twitch if you haven't already, and then you should be able to earn all the rewards. And of course on the website you can also find all the FAQs or questions you may have regarding the Twitch drops. And I have to say that since we mentioned this is a longer event, we will have more stuff in store for the community and more surprises during the event that we cannot just tell yet. So please keep an eye out for those, but I can promise you that it won't be a boring event.
There will be so many exciting things there. So yeah, stay tuned for more information on like those mid-event beats. There's gonna be a couple things in store there to surprise you guys.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about those more. But let's dive into the event mechanics a bit, starting with the pledge mark. So how do you earn them?
So what we do is we follow the structure from previous events where we have event points as a main driver. So you can do certain actions in the game, like, for example, play the objective, kill certain special monsters. We also have the Orwellian effigies come back from a previous event. You can find scattered throughout the world. And you can kind of kill those, destroy those, and therefore get your event points. Now, event points allow you to earn pledge marks. Every 25 event points, you get 1 pledge mark, as in previous events. In addition to that, we have in Bounty Clash and Soul Survivor different rules for that. So you get like 3 for winning in Soul Survivor and 2 if you do the banish in Bounty Clash. So there's other ways for you to get to them, but normally you just play, and you can obviously also be lucky and kill some other players, and maybe they had some on them and you steal them from them as well. So all these mechanics that we've had in previous events, they're kind of returning, giving you full control about cool rewards that you can get that way.
Right, and you mentioned pledge marks, but we have a brand new place in the event.
Yes.
That's called the Fool's Hideout, and it's very connected to pledge marks as well. And I think players may have seen it already in the trailer, but yeah, let's talk about this new location and what players can do here.
So similar to what we had with resupplies and also like the circus in the previous events, we do have this new location. So we call it the Fool's Hideout. You might have seen this a little bit in the trailer we just showed at the beginning. And what it does is basically it adds a new 17th type of special location besides our normal compounds that you can kind of find. There's like, I think, 3 locations per map, so they will be randomized a little bit. And over there you find lots of like unique rewards, like in previous events as well. Like this is where you find exclusives that are only there for the event duration, and some of the like evergreen, old familiar pledge rewards and seal rewards that you can obtain from there. So it's a really cool new location, and we have a couple of new exclusive things to be found there as well. So on one hand, we have the new Trade Wager Spur. This is something we talk about in a second.
Yes.
And then we have the Catalyst trade, which we'll also talk about in a second as a new thing. And alongside that, we have the return of some of the old familiar ones. So we're bringing back 2 trades from previous events, which we can talk about in a second.
Yeah, so you of course mentioned the new Wager Spur, Straight Wager Spur, and the Catalyst. So what are those? Let's see what we can tell about those.
So the Trade Wager Spur is basically a random trade. What it means is, though, you find that at the full hideout location, and when you interact with it for 1 pledge mark, and you can do multiple of these interactions, it gives you 1 random trade. So you can kind of like gamble a little bit in terms of like, oh, which ones do I get? If you have some for example, pledge marks that you took from enemies, etc., and you want to spend them. So this is similar to like the fortune teller machine. It's just very focused on the trades this time around. So that's a unique thing that you find just at the central location, just at the full hideout.
Yeah, and there was another thing you mentioned, the Catalyst trade. So what is that?
So Catalyst trade combines the trade conditional effects that we've had in previous events under one umbrella. So now we have one trade, the Catalyst trade. If you have that, it unlocks all of these conditional abilities on other trades that you have on your hunter. So Catalyst on its own doesn't really do anything, but having it alongside the other traits gives you then special abilities. So there's a couple of old familiar ones, like for example the Beast Face I can mention as an example, where you're being completely ignored by the dogs, the horses, etc. So it's a very strong trait, but you need the other traits, so it acts as a catalyst in order to allow you to get like the additional benefits from it. So it's a really cool new addition, and it's an interesting way for us to, rather than having this as we had in the past on a per pact basis, some of them, now you can basically have all of them combined, but you need Catalyst.
And I think that one of the most exciting ones is the fanning change. So let's see what fanning does with Catalyst.
Yeah, so with fanning, we're introducing a new conditional effect for this event, where if you have Catalyst attached, we'll also allow you to fan from the 2-slot single action revolvers. Now, what that means is that any of those pistols with a stock attached to it, or also the Haymaker as a big 2-handed handgun, all of those rather basic pistols now have an additional close quarter defense by giving you a chance to fan with them. Obviously, that fanning is slower than, for example, with the one-handed weapon. But we're talking about fanning from a more stable firing platform because stabilization, right? So you have a bit more control about it. So it's a trade-off between the speed of fanning versus like the amount of screen kick it has, and therefore makes it a bit more controllable. But the output is not quite the same as for a single one.
Yeah, and like how will it change gameplay, or what do you expect for playstyles? That's
an excellent question, Vance. Now the important piece here really is that by it affecting primarily the medium slot loadouts, we hope to see a lot more loadout combinations. Like, so you could bring, for example, the bow as one medium slot, and then you just bring the Haymaker, and you still have some close quarter defense with the fanning if you have Catalyst at the same time. Like, we expect people to kind of like experiment a little bit more with like these type of loadouts, but obviously it's also interesting for Quartermaster. Because you can kind of bring like another backup weapon. If you're, for example, playing a rifle or a sniper or whatever, you can have a pistol as a backup, and that gives you a close quarter defense with fanning as well as a 2-slot. So it's still more precise than if you were shooting one-handed.
Right. I mean, it sounds very fun, and we cannot wait to see how players enjoy it and what they think about it. And now that we talked about all these cool new event mechanics, let's just like look at the lore very slightly to what players can expect and what is the event about. So, first of all, after Garden of the Witch, it's part of a Tarot trilogy, right?
Yes. So this is the second installment of our Tarot installment or trilogy. And like we have a couple of new things happening here. So if you can go next one, we have the Fool as one of the main antagonists. So he was once known as Doc Red Martin. You might know him from a legendary weapon that we've had float around for some time. So he has done some things which are not so nice, like poison some people, try to make some profit out of their misery. He is on the run now, and the person that tries to bring him to justice is the Pale Judge. Now he has a personal motivation in there as well because his daughter was one of them that got killed by the events that happened. So he is a bit of on a revenge trip, but also obviously he's part of the government, part of the law, and trying to bring him down and yeah, find him. In addition to that, we have Dorothy Ellis, and Dorothy is a bit of a wild card. Like she's supporting the Fool, and she's one of the survivors from the Ellis Farm incident from way back. So we're going to be interested to see like what her role will be in the whole thing as the drama unfolds.
Right, let's take a look at her as well.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you know, like you mentioned, the big conflict between the judge and the Fool, and I wonder how that will turn out, and maybe there's gonna be some more fun regarding it in the future.
Yes.
But that's it for the lore recap, and let's look at the big gameplay changes. And
yes,
I think one of the most fun one is the Brute. Let's see a short video of it first, and after that we can talk about what it does. In a second. Alright, so that's the new AI, the Brute. And what can you tell us about it? Like, we teased it, we showed it.
Yeah, so you might remember Ursa Mortis. Ursa Mortis has moved away with the circus, but the corruption never stops. So new things in the world have been infected. So the corruption never sleeps. And in this case, we now have the Brute as basically a mutated bear entity. And it does all the things that you would expect. Like it's very aggressive. It's like has the type of shriek attack that we've known from Ursa Mortis already. And what's very interesting about it is that you will find it mostly in forest areas. So we're talking about an enemy that we will find primarily in the in-between areas where normally we don't have that much of a presence. So that's going to be interesting as you traverse the world, that you will come across that in locations that normally you thought could actually be a nice safe spot, like a safe spot, like a refuge for you. And you now might not be alone in that.
Sounds awesome. And since we talked about the event and we already mentioned the hideout, we can actually also show you the hideout. So we have two videos to showcase how it looks because as we said, you've seen it in the trailer, but we want to give you a more cinematic look at it as well. So let's look at that now.
So as you can see, like the Fool's Hideout has like this interior section underneath where you'll find all the cool rewards that we have. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of those traits as well that are returning. For example, we have Gunrunner comeback, we have Corpseer trait comeback besides the trait Rager Spur. And those will be found guaranteed in that location, just like the envelopes you've seen. So whenever you go there to the hideout, you'll always have these cool rewards there. But you can also find some of those randomly, like at supply points or in the towers as usual, if you're lucky and explore the map. So there's still going to be lots of things around there. As you've seen, like the Fool's Hideout basically has like an outer ring out of wagons. And then we have the central keep, I'm going to call it now, with a little tower. And underneath that, this is where you kind of enter and you find all these cool rewards. So it's going to be interesting how people can use it as a fortified position. Like it's not safe to be in that area because everybody's going to go there, but you do have some space there in order to kind make it your hideout and defend it against people you're near queen.
Yeah, we can expect a lot of fun fights there.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be very fun, but I can't wait to see how it turns out. And with that, we do have a lot of changes with combat and balance. So
Yes,
let's
yes.
talk about that, like how the gunfights actually play and what's new in this update.
Yes, so let's go through step by step. This will be the fun section, obviously. Like
Your favorite,
Gameplay
yeah.
is always great.
Your
I love
favorite, yeah.
gameplay. We have done a couple of changes. I'm going to step by step. The first one is that you can now pick up jewel traps. So if you brought some bear traps, if you brought like a concealer trap, and you place them, and then the enemy team just goes completely differently, like a different direction, you can actually dismantle those, which you could do before, but you had to leave them behind. Now they go back in your inventory if you have space for them. So that means you can kind of like bring them along, set them up in a different location. It just makes it a bit more tactical for how you want to use those. So it's not just the first chance, and then if whatever fight doesn't happen, you kind of like left them all behind. That always feels a bit sad. So you have a bit more options there. So I think that's something which is really, really cool and have been asked for quite a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I heard this so many times, but why don't we just take a look at it and see how players can pick it up?
Rather straightforward. Obviously, you need the space in your inventory, but you can also pick up other people's traps if you have
Awesome.
brought the traps to begin with, and you have some charges empty at the moment. So
Well, sadly, it doesn't apply to me because I always run into them anyway.
I hear that a lot from many different people.
Especially if they are next to red barrels. Yeah. But we also made a small change to Dark Dynamite section.
Yes.
So what's with those?
So we looked at the usage of the Dark Dynamite satchel, and while this is a great addition, it wasn't quite there yet where we wanted to be. So one of the problems we identified was it was just a bit too easy to pick it up, just a bit too easy to figure out where it is in the world, and therefore the chance for it to succeed in blowing you up was rather slim. So one of the changes we've done is kind of make it a little bit more subtle in the world. You can still listen to it. Obviously, it still shows up in Vigilant, and you have a chance to kind of see it across the different tools we give you as a player, but it is no longer as loud as it used to be. So hopefully a bit more success in actually placing it in ambush situations. And as a player, you need to be even more careful now, Vance.
Yeah, of course. And this is one of the many audio changes we introduced in this update, but why don't you just listen to it and watch how this works? So be your ears, everyone.
Yep, rather convenient.
Right, and now we talked about noise, so let's talk about the silencer changes.
Yeah. So as you remember in update 2.3, we talked about the silencers and how we kind of rebalance some of the damage pieces around them. Most of it was in response for addressing the crack silencer, which turned out to be a massive success, but also a very powerful weapon. The balancing we've been doing has been very global and like universal, and obviously some of the weapons which might not have needed a nerf were affected by it. So we did another pass on that based on the feedback, and what we have now is that the long ammo is basically reducing the damage by 10%, which is the change we had before. However, medium and compact ammo is now only reduced by 5%. So there's still a reduction. We just kind of be a bit more separate about it. Based on the ammo types, and we are more targeted in the way that we can address specifically the crack silencer that has suffered the most there. One thing that is important to understand though is like we look at the data side of things, and the usage of the silenced weapons actually didn't change that drastically. The important piece, however, is that the usage of the crack silencer, that's the one that really changed. So even though it was an unfair change in 2.3, it still did what we were hoping it would do, which is reduce and cut down on the usage of the crack silencer, bring it a bit more down to a reasonable level. It did that without necessarily completely removing all the other silencers, but all of them went down just a little bit in usage. Keep in mind, we also introduced the 1865 silencer at the same time, so there was a bit of a redistribution happening as well. But we feel this is now in a healthy spot, and obviously with the new updates, the compact and medium weapons are not suffering as extremely as they did in 2.3.
Yeah, sounds awesome. And again, we look forward to your feedback about this as well because it's a bigger balance change. And I see that we changed the fast finger trait. We reduced the cost of it.
Yes, so there's also something where while it was appreciated as a trade, it might have just been a bit too expensive. So we kind of brought it down from 6 to 4 points, which feels a bit more reasonable now in terms of where it sits, especially now since we did a change in 2.3 that you have these 10 points from the start. It becomes a lot more viable as a building block of your Start Hunter. If you want to, for example, use the Springfield or the Sparks, etc., and have the trade right off the like out of the box, and still be able to bring up some other like interesting trades at the same time.
Right. And one big change, actually, in my opinion, that's really cool, is that now bounty carriers get back their lost health chunk when they extract.
Yeah, so this is like a quality of life change that I think many of you guys have asked for a long time already. So basically, if you are playing the objective, if you get your bounty, and you might have lost some bars along the way, we take away the logistical burden of having to re-equip all of the bars. We just give them back to you for free. If you extract with bounty, that means as a team, not individually. So even if you're the third in the team, that might not actually be having bounty on them. As long as you extract with your teammates, you'll also benefit from it in the same way.
And as I mentioned, like, we listened to a lot of feedback regarding this. Like, you mentioned the silencer changes, and we will continue to do that. I mentioned in the beginning of the stream as well. So please give us feedback regarding all of these changes. We will make sure to keep that in mind and try to change in the future based on it. It's very important for us.
What we basically are still doing, we've been doing last update, we're still doing this update. We want to make sure that we walk back some of the changes you guys didn't like since our August release last year. We're going to do some health operation pieces here and there where we just make sure that like you guys have the best possible game that you want to play. The changes make sense to you. And so important feedback right now for us is whatever you guys like and don't like, and it drives our decisions on balancing on other pieces as well.
I think that's actually a really good point. We mentioned with Garden of the Witch already that we try to focus on health of the game, and it's still true to this update as well.
Yes, it's an important piece right now. We want to make sure that the game feels as best as it can be for you guys, and those changes, you can see all of them were community requests. We really want you guys to feel at home here.
Sounds great. And now that we talked about the balance changes, let's look at the damage side of things. So how we rebalance the damage.
So this is a bigger package. So maybe just show all of the bullet points already at the same time. So what we've been doing is looking at the power of weapons and how their role is in the game. And one thing we noticed is that we didn't feel like the shots were very often consistent in terms of damage, but we also didn't feel that shots were meaningful enough at longer distances, for example. So we're taking this problem from multiple fronts. One of them is that we have bullets in general lose less damage over distance, so that the drop-off as the bullet travels is a bit less, and that will benefit some of the bullets like compact and medium, which have suffered very strongly over distance to the point that sometimes you got like 7 or 14 damage points, and obviously even if you have a 25 bar, like you can regen out of that one rather quickly. So we want there to be more of an impact. That means if you do a good hit over distance, like upper torso type of thing, like you kind of did aim well, it's a hit over a long time, we want that to matter. So there will be at least 50 damage across most of the weapons. Keep in mind we have tons of weapons. Some of them might fall under this just a little bit because it's very systemic in nature. We're using a lot of multipliers, we have different ammo types, etc. But for the most part, whenever you hit someone over distance, it should at least require them to somehow bandage up because they actually lost some health. And in a similar way, if you're being hit in the limbs at a distance, we at least want it to be 25 of damage. Again, silencers or some of the weaker weapons might not 100% always get to that min threshold, but across the arsenal, you should see that as a more consistent thing. And the exact details of that one you can also read up in the patch notes afterwards, that we have like a more detailed list what it all means for different weapons.
Right, and we also have some graphs to show this with the different sizes. So first is the compact ammo.
Yeah, so as you can see here at the moment is basically this is like the old one, if I'm not mistaken. If you go to the next one, this is
the next one is medium.
Oh, the next one. So okay, you see the old and the new one on the same chart. The moment it's so small for us, we can't even see it. So we have to, there's some colored lines there.
Yes.
And you can already compare. So like probably people will take screenshots of the stream, and you can guys probably see that in Reddit in more detail afterwards. And we're going to leave each of them for a few seconds, but it's a different ammunition types. You can kind of see how the new and the old one differ in terms of the retention of the damage over a longer distance. And we also have the different sub-ammo types in there. So it's interesting also in general to kind of see, like, for example, the plateau we have on FMJ bullets, where it kind of keeps the 100% damage for a longer distance compared to the regular bullet. You can get all of that detail from the charts. So just look at them afterwards in all the details, but there's a great reference point for everybody to kind of check it out.
Yeah, we can't wait to see the analytics on Reddit for this as well.
There will be plenty. I'll
Yeah,
read
but-
it all.
Yeah, we showed compact, medium, long, special ammo, as well as bows and crossbows, and all the special ammo types for those.
Yes,
So
yes.
have fun. It's a lot of colorful lines for us. It's very small, but
You figured it all out.
yeah.
But can you go back to the one, because we still have one or two things to talk about before we go to the burn speed. That was a nice teaser, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just go to the bullet points, so before the graphs. Yes. So because there's more to it. It's not just the damage over distance. There's also the adjusted damage multipliers for the limbs and the torso. So again, what we did here is we wanted to normalize a little bit. So bring the damage multipliers a little bit closer so it feels a bit more consistent as you do multiple hits in succession on a player. There is still a noticeable difference between them, so it still matters where you hit a person. However, they're a bit closer, and specifically the upper torso has remained the same, but the torso has become a lot closer to the upper torso. Upper torso was 1.3, or is 1.3. Now the torso is just slightly below that one. So in general, if you hit the torso as a whole, you should get a more reliable hit picture about like the damage you do. In a similar way, the limbs have been kind of brought up by 10%, slightly a little bit as well. And then the last thing is just for awareness. While doing all of that, we've also taken the opportunity to streamline some of the AI damage multipliers. So in general, you should have exactly the same experience as before. However, in some of the extreme cases, for example, a particular melee attack against a meathead, for example, or against an armored or against an emulator with specific damage types might take now a few hits more, a few hits less. That's probably mostly noticeable on the bigger, tougher enemies, though. For the default, most of the stuff and all the cool tricks like throwing axe to the chest, etc., all of that stuff still works exactly the same, and you get a similar experience. But we kind of use the chance to kind of normalize and make sure we kind of identify and clean up the weird pieces that we've found in the system. So think of this whole thing as a big package where we're touching upon the rebalancing of damage across the board, and it should lead to a better experience throughout.
And earlier I burned through the slides a bit too quickly, but now we are actually at the burn changes. So what exactly changed in the fire and burning speed?
So the biggest difference what we're doing is that we differentiate now between a fast and a slow burn. The important piece here is that as long as you're inside fire, like someone threw a firebomb or a lantern at you, while that fire is there, you can fuel the fire on the hunter as well. So now you are burning fast. However, if you've just been ignited, for example, from a flare pistol, there might be a few seconds with a strong burn initially, but then it kind of goes to that slower burn rate. What that means is you will have a much stronger relevance of what item you use to burn. So a flare pistol still ignites, a flare pistol is still reliable, but it also means for the most part you can only get to the slow burning, which means it takes a bit longer for people to really burn out and gives then, for example, the teammates a better chance over a longer time to kind of do something about it. So we no longer treat fire as fire, but we now have a differentiation in there, and hopefully that brings a bit more diversity in gear. For example, finding that lantern or even bringing like a firebomb, etc. And differences even between a hellfire bomb and a regular firebomb, like the normal firebomb burns for several minutes. So that means you can almost guarantee to burn someone out fast. But a hellfire bomb kind of diminishes after a few seconds, and then you would have a slow burn as well. So that tactical depth that we're adding to this should help kind of break up some of the monotony we have seen in the inventory. And I think that will be very healthy for the game.
One note to mention, what happens if someone is submerged or underwater?
Yes, so one of the things we did at the same time is that if you are submerged in water and someone, for example, throws a liquid firebomb at you, you will get a little bit of faint charcoaling if you are in a fire volume. So think of it like during like the heavy rain, for example, right? Like we kind of like have a little bit on the ground, but you can't really fully ignite. It's a similar thing here. The important piece is that if someone hits like a piece, an object in the water next to you, let's say like a part of a pier or a tree stump or whatever, they can still obviously create a fire effect, and then for the duration of that fire, you might still do that. But burning out inside water is very, very hard, and you need to bring the right tools for it over a longer time. But it is something that we've done at the same time to kind of break it up a little bit. So for example, if someone dies very close to the shoreline and you ignite the shore, there might be some some fire over the water where they are lying, and then that will affect them.
That makes a lot of sense. And we also changed self skin because of the changes.
So in order for us to now only have these two speeds for burning, the fast and the slow, we didn't want to introduce even more granularity into that one. And traditionally what self skin has been doing was that self skin impacted how long it takes for you to burn out when on the ground. So instead now we do have, depending on how you're being ignited and whether you can fuel the fire around the body, we now have the two speeds, and we didn't want to have another one in there. So self-skin has been changed. It no longer slows down the burning. However, you can put out the fire. So think of it similar to what Mithridates is doing for poison, or what Bloodless is doing for bleeding. Like you only basically have the base stage of that damage effect, and it still gives you an advantage to kind of recover from it much faster. And obviously you also still on self-skin have all the advantages you had before when it comes to reduced charcoaling when you, for example, get hit by incendiary ammunition, etc.
It sounds good. So we've talked a lot about fire, but I think we do have a nice comparison video to show here. So let's look at the burning speeds.
So as you can see here, we do have 45% slower burn on the slow burn compared to how it was before. And the fast burn is roughly the same as before. We're talking about just a few seconds difference because it's a different formula running in the background. But that means you will overall have a lot more time in the slow burn, and it's roughly the same as you've had on live if someone manages to fuel the fire and keep it burning there.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a very appreciated change by the community, and of course it will add a lot of depth to like what equipment people take and how they use the burn on each other as well, or more like on the enemy, hopefully. So yeah.
One thing what we maybe can quickly do, just don't want to show you the entire long video again, because as fun as it is watching the health bars burn down, especially if you wait for your teammate to finally throw that choke bomb.
Yeah.
But maybe if you can quickly load up the video and just go to the very end of the video, if that's possible, then we can see just like the timings there quickly and have it on screen for a moment. Then you see it like for the different versions. So as you can see there, we have, if you take a look at the health bar and how much it has progressed, we have like the 2.3, like the previous version was like 51 seconds, and then you have 2.4 with fast like 55, so it's roughly the same. It's in the same ballpark. And then you have like 1 minute 11. You used to have 1 minute 11 if you have self skin, and now the slow burn in 2.4 is 1 minute 18. So just give you like a ballpark of the numbers, but obviously it's much nicer to try this out as you play, which you will soon.
Yeah, in just 2 days actually, so it's very soon, less than 2 days now. It's late night. But we have a bunch of other changes in the update as well, starting with the Silent Killer trait improvements.
Yes, so Silent Killer is one of the traits we looked at a little bit and wanted to improve. One thing we've been doing here is that if you have Silent Killer actually on your hunter, and you do a melee attack or you do a ranged attack against an AI which is not in combat, which is unaware, you can now kill them silently. So this is really, really cool, for example, for crossbow, bow users. Like if you aim your shots carefully, you bring them down with one hit and they're not alerted yet, you can be a lot more effective of killing them silently. And obviously that extends to melee attacks as well, which understandably sometimes can be a bit harder as you approach. Like if you're not really crouching, they might still get onto you at one point. But in addition to what Silent Killer was doing before, which was just that your sounds as a hunter were suppressed, we now have an effect on the grunts at the moment. And we're trying this out on the grunts first, and then depending on the feedback, we might expand this to other AI in the next updates moving forward. So, but you see a lot more stealth possible now if you know how to play and bring things down silently.
That sounds really, really fun. Always fun to be a ninja. So, we have some other changes to Dark Side, where we changed how it works with active interactions.
Yes, so you've seen that a little bit from what we introduced before, but now all of the active interactions are actually triggered by the mouse button or the triggers on the controller to choose when to use them. So this gives you a lot more control what to activate. Like no longer do you just hover over an enemy about to shadow leap, lost a little bit of health, then that sparks hits you, you're frustrated. Like you now have control when to commit to these type of actions, and that makes the whole thing a lot more easier to pace from your side with these abilities throughout everything that is possible in Dark Side.
Awesome. And our little friends, the Beetles, got some improvements.
So the Beetles are kind of benefiting from this as well, obviously. Like they also get the active interactions. In addition to that, we looked at some of the traits and decided that the Beetles should also now be able to use Serpent, which is a really, really strong improvement, especially like for solos, as you can kind of like now see if you can maybe snatch like that clue or other pieces like a bit more silently. And also a big note, while it can interact with Serpent, it cannot steal bounty. So that's not a possibility. We don't have beats flying around with bounty tokens.
Well, that would be hilarious, but maybe not.
You could, for example, start a banish from a distance and things like that, right? So it just gives you a bit more options. And in a similar way, Remedy also works now with the Beetle. So if you remember where that trait was in the tower, but you're pinned down in the fight, but you really want the bars back and you have Remedy, like you can fly to that other trait with a Beetle and do the interaction and get your boss back that way. So just a little bit of edge case, sandboxy elements that we can add.
I think it's really cool, and the Beetle is even better. And we love the Beetles.
We love the Beetle, all three of them.
There's a change that I'm actually really, really looking forward. I've been asking for it for a long time. So ever since we introduced weapon skins, I'm pretty sure. But now we show the base item name and not the name of the weapon skins.
Finally, yes. So this is a really, really cool quality of life change where, like, especially if you're not familiar with all of the like legendary skins or cosmetic skins we have, what weapon they belong to, and then whether you should pick up that weapon or not, especially in the heat of combat. We now show you the base name, and then you can figure out what the variant is afterwards, the usual way.
Again, it's very, very cool, and I'm excited for it. But there's a bigger change for the new players and people new to Hunt. Maybe hi if you're watching. I hope you will enjoy this change. So we're introducing Hunter bots until rank 11 only for new players.
So this is an important caveat here. While we're introducing Hunter bots, they're primarily as a purpose for onboarding. We want to make sure that new players have a good time. They have like some interesting fights, but not being dominated so quickly. It's just important to have that first moment of success, obviously. So that's why they're only limited to the new player experience. That's what they're built for. And they should give new players just a nicer experience to kind of learn the ropes and get familiar with the game. So.
Yeah, I mean, of course, player onboarding has been like a big focus point for us. Of course, we added a tutorial and so many improvements to it. So, especially for new players that I always see on social and Reddit saying that they just started the game, please let us know how you feel about this change. And hopefully you have a lot of fun with it.
It's the next logical step to kind of improve the onboarding experience, but also onboarding is something which is so important for us, and we can keep on moving in that direction with different venues. This time around, the Hunter bots kind of felt a little bit of a missing piece there. So, again, as a new player, please give us your feedback.
Yeah, thank you so much. And of course, Hunt is not the easiest game to learn from the beginning, so I think this is one really good step. But let's talk about some other improvements, like some of the bug fixes we did in the update.
So we fixed the multiple issues tied to ammo display, and like something like, especially when you were reloading weapons, etc., very often like the HUD was kind of sometimes breaking, falling apart, and giving you the right feedback. So there's been plenty of issues around that front that we've been fixing. Not all of them, but I think we've made some good steps forward there. Then we fixed some issues related to silent missing footsteps. Like especially the silent footsteps has been something which has been a point of contention with the community for quite some time now. We have identified actually multiple different problems there. Hopefully we found all of them, or at least most of them. If you still encounter silent footsteps or missing footsteps after the update, please let us know. But I think we've at least taken away a good chunk of the problem now from what we could identify.
we of course have a lot of performance and optimization related fixes in the update
Yes.
on all different platforms. And we also fixed an issue where trait charms were just floating in
Yeah,
sometimes.
there was something that we unfortunately introduced with we added that traits can be floating when you kill Roger. So just so you see them pop up, we could finally give Roger also a nice reward, which I think was appreciated. Had some side effects. One of them was that traits now sometimes were just doing things which we're not supposed to. We fixed that, so hopefully they're back there where they should be on the ground wherever they drop.
Yep, and very importantly, we have a long list of bug fixes.
Yes.
So when the update goes live on the 18th, please make sure to read the patch notes and read the bug fix list because it's quite long.
It's a long list.
And yeah, talking of long lists, I think we also added a lot of, first of all, UI related bugs, but also some very, very asked for changes.
Yes. Lots of fixes went into the UI, but also we can, as we've already shown in the beginning of the year when we released like the roadmap video for that, a couple of pieces. So we start tackling more and more of those. That's obviously an ongoing journey. Not everything is done in this update. There's going to be more. The team is working really hard on all of those pieces, but actually I think this is coming along very nicely. So what we see this time around is improvements to the loadout screen redesign. So especially since we've done the change in 2.3 where you have 10 upgrade points to kind of like do it. So people are kind of building up their loads a little bit more with a specific gear in mind, etc. So they use the loadouts just a little bit more than they used before. And so one of the improvements here is that we went back to our traditional view of how to kind of display the player, different slots. It's more of a vertical list now. There's a couple more pieces to this. So overall, the whole thing is a lot nicer to kind of see. And you see your hunter there directly on the right side as well. So it just gives you a nicer way of interacting with the loadouts. The loadouts are also at a central location now, so you can always get to them from the lobby right away. So if you prepare your loadouts, you can very quickly equip a new hunter. The one thing we couldn't do for this update, but is on the list for us for future, is like that we also include the trades as part of this. But for now, the system at least works a lot nicer for the weapons and for tools and consumables.
Yeah, let's also look at this in action because we have a short video to showcase the loadout screen as well.
So you can select the central button we have there now, and then as you might go through, you still have the full control about like a loadout only updating a particular category. And then from there on, you can go directly, select the weapons for it, select the ammunition, and kind of build your loadout in a very nice, elegant way. You can, of course, also still carry it over from a hunter, save it as a preset, so that full control is still there. And save it and done. So we think that gives a lot more flexibility and just makes it a bit faster in between rounds, which has been one of our focus points. Just like make sure we remove some of the pain points for equipping and kind of like do the task you always have to do between missions a little bit more efficiently.
So then we also made a recruit and free hunter visual overhaul to this screen.
Yeah, so in a similar way, we went back to like more of a vertical display there with some of the lessons learned. So it's a combination of what we had as a past layout. However, with still the improvements of the new UI when it comes to accessibility and some of the pieces, the buttons, etc., the overview. So I think it's a nice blend of what is great.
Yeah, and I believe we also have a video for that.
So this is like a different thing though. We can quickly talk about this.
Yeah, I believe this is like the new pause menu that has been changed a lot.
So this is another thing we'll be doing. So you might have already seen it in the dev video that we released last week. You basically get a bit of a live update now, or directly if you press escape or go to the pause menu, what your equipment is. You get live updates on whenever equipment changed. You see that obviously also for your teammates. And just gives you a lot more overview. So like now if you open up the menu, you can even see your health bars burning at that very same moment. So, and you see it for your teammates as well. It gives you just a better overview and understand what's going on.
Yeah, when you pause, you couldn't really see before. So now you see everything that's happening.
The problem we had in the past was that you had to basically go to like a team sub menu. And now the moment you press escape, you're directly there where you want the information. You can see it for all your teammates and yourself right there.
I think we also forgot to mention that now you will be able to read the lore of hunters
Yes.
in the UI, which has been actually requested by a lot of people.
It's a small but I think very important piece, like that you even for the hunters that you own, you can kind of go back and read their little bios, understand what their motivation is, etc. And for some people, that's just very, very important to kind of like also put themselves a little bit into the world, into the mindset of the game, and to a certain extent even role play these hunters.
Yeah, and yeah, we already talked about the pause menu in the video, but now you can also see it on the screen. You can see teammates loadout and also like what's happening to you live. So if you're poisoned, you can see it. If your health chunks are burning away, you can see it. And I believe even in the options, you will be able to, like as you're changing the FOV, for example, you will be able to see it changing live in the background. So yeah. I think it will be much loved and such an improved quality of life.
It's just a layer of quality of life change, I think is really, really important.
And then one big change is that we made the flow from lobby to matchmaking a bit better and a bit smoother.
Yes. So overall, you will have a back to lobby button now in most of the screens. So in general, you should be able to get back to where you actually commit to the next game very quickly. I don't need to like leave submenus first before you can do that. So the whole thing should feel a bit more accessible and easier to navigate.
Yeah, also removing the traits will be much easier. And let's look at the two videos we have here for the back to lobby button in action, as well as how you can just remove traits from your trait bar in the corner. Yeah, the back to lobby button in the corner. And wow, you're back to the lobby.
Who would have thought?
Wow. Convenient. And yeah, this is the trait removal. So now you can, when you see all your equipped traits in the top right corner, you can just double click it to remove them. And you don't have to go through the big list at the bottom.
Below, yeah, small quality of life change, but just gives you a better overview of what you have and then be able to action right there.
Exactly. And we have over 100 UI bug fixes in this update as well. So
the team has been very busy and it's much appreciated. There's lots of progress in there and there's even more to come.
And again, please, for bug fixes specifically, not just regarding the UI, but the game, please read the patch notes. It's a lot of work going into it from the whole team and the community managers as well. So please read it. There's a bunch of UI bug fixes listed that we, of course, couldn't talk about, and a lot of game bug fixes. So please make sure to read it. But let's talk about other improvements, which are a very big part of this update, actually. And it's about audio, which is obviously one of the key pillars of
Oh yeah. Very, very important. So in the biggest point at the moment is like we've been done like an overall improvement to the mix quality. So again, something we've also already hinted at a little bit and shown some examples in the dev video that we've released on Friday. So if you want to have very concrete examples, really recommend you guys watching that video because all of the details are in there and you can actually really properly hear as it's like in-game live captures, doesn't have to go through stream compression, etc. And you can kind of watch that and get a sense for it. But the important piece is that the information that is important to you should be more in the foreground now. You should be able to identify sounds better and clearer, and that helps just the overall mix and clarity of what is going on in the mission.
Yeah, and one other very big change is the vertical footstep audio when you're in buildings or outside, and now it's much easier to tell what's above you or below you.
Yes, so when you're inside buildings, now we kind of changed the pitch of the footsteps in terms of like how hollow they sound, etc., based on whether you're up or down. Again, in the dev video, we have a couple of examples for you guys to if you want to look up the details of that one, see some gameplay examples of this one. This is a really, really, really cool change, and we've done a couple of experiments in the past in the direction. We were never fully happy with this one. This is the first time this is actually really becoming so much clearer, especially like in the intensity of combat, right? Like to understand if someone is underneath, above, etc. Because we're talking about like fraction of seconds to make decisions now, and this is finally a bit clearer and should give people a bit more success on whether they aim up or down at the staircase.
Yeah. Actually, we changed a lot of things about footsteps. We already mentioned that we fixed some bugs where the audio was missing. We changed the vertical sound, and we also changed how it sounds across surfaces.
Yes, yeah. So just a general improvement about the clarity of the surface type that you're walking over and making sure that this all feels more appropriate. So again, something to try out best in software. It's hard to explain it just by talking about it, But once you experience it, I'm pretty sure you guys will be happy.
Yeah, and other than just like the overall audio, gunshot specifically has been remixed a bit, especially for interior gunshot sounds.
Yeah, it should be much clearer to understand which weapons are firing. Like some of the weapons, they were a bit suffering to not fully be able to identify them with the indoor tails they had. So it should be more distinct overall.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear your feedback. Yeah. So let us know how you feel about these changes. And I think we are at the topic that everyone has been waiting for. We've been seeing it for months now, and now we finally can talk about it. Of course, we had a cool trailer that we will be rolling now, and then we are going to be diving into
DeSalle.
Yeah, first of all, I must say this video, when I first saw it, I got goosebumps.
Oh, yeah.
It's so good to be back, and I think a lot of players' favorite map is coming back with this update. But let's just quickly have an overview of what was changed.
Yeah, so like the important piece is now like DeSalle is back. It's been updated. It has received a similar treatment like some of the other maps we've had. So that concludes the last map. Is back in rotations, back in the pool. The family is reunited, and we have some really cool improvements that we can deep dive a little bit more. But in general, we've done changes to the layouts. We've done changes to lighting, terrain, vegetation has been reworked in some parts, and then the PvP flow, like combat, etc., as well as fidelity across the compounds has been changed with lots of details. So I think we can probably go a little bit more into detail some of those. So those are basically just like general changes for the lighting of it. If you want to talk about it a little.
Yeah, it's just some overview of the general lighting changes, and of course you guys could see it in the video as well. But the whole atmosphere has been uplifted, assets updated. As Dennis said, many layout changes, and we will be diving into right after this to the biggest ones.
Yeah.
But I just think it like looks absolutely amazing. It almost looks like real life pictures, not gonna lie. So I'm so happy. But yeah, let's talk about what's exactly new.
Yeah, so the main thing is like some of the key areas have been overhauled. So notably Pelican Island, the prison up on the hill. Then Pearl Plantation has seen a bigger shift, and Kingsnake Mine as well. So there's some pieces to it where we've either added letters, we added entire sub buildings to them, new entry points, just whatever was good for the flow, whatever was good for getting like the particular compound to play better. And we will have a total of 3 times of days initially for this one. So we kind of updated the ones that you know and familiar with. So we have Clearview, we have Amber Sky, and Pressing Fog as the 3 main ones there. So there will be probably more coming along the way.
Yeah, and we mentioned the 3 main compounds, so we are going to be looking at those, and each with a different time of day. So we can see what changed, and then it's gonna kind of walk us through on some of the bigger changes. So of course this is prison.
Yeah, so this Pelican prison, as you can see, like the entire front towards the west of the compound has been changed drastically. We have like a new building there, like an administration building, different ways going up and down. So just the whole place a little bit nicer from the combat side. On the north side, we chopped down the big tree, or I think it burned down. Like so some of the leftovers, there's like a supply point in this particular instance. That should just in general give you clearer line of sights and like firing lanes, etc. in that particular area, and just like makes that space a little bit more interesting from the verticality perspective, as you can then shoot down from the windows as well. And then on the back side, you can kind of see a little bit on the right side here, there's like this little elevator and side construction. And also in the courtyard, we've kind of added like another ruined structure in there. So there's a bit more cover as you go forward. And not sure if you can see it of the main boss building. If you approach it, there's like a different way the ramp goes up there. So different ways for you to get inside and encounter and have fights around this place. So.
Yeah, and just to mention that this time of day is called Clear View, as Dennis mentioned. But let's look at the next one, which is Pearl Plantation after a lot of changes, and this is Ember Sky time of day.
Yes, so Pearl Plantation here, like no screenshot, you don't really see so much changed. However, it's in the details, as you can see from the inside. This is the lobby area. And as you can see, the entire top floor, the access that you have like to the balcony in the old version, like this all been collapsed, kind of ruined. So we kind of restructured how you approach that frontal part. If you go in from the main door, how you can fight your way up. And what you can see just very slimly in the background there is that the collapsed balcony that we've used to have on the back side of the building, on the east side, is now next to the main entrance on the west side. So there's also like an easier way to ramp up and go up on the balcony. So the flow of the map should change just a little bit based on how you can now move around that. And from our playtesting, this is shown like to really improve the flow of the whole thing.
And of course the garden area actually sees
Yes.
a lot of changes.
Yes.
I think that's like maybe the most noticeable too.
So like the whole peripheral is like a little bit more like it was on the back side, on the left side previously. You just have a lot more cover there, a lot more options to go through. So the approach to the compound should also become a lot clearer and give more interesting ways for players to kind of like move around, especially with multiple attacking teams maybe trying to find a way in as there's a defender sitting inside.
And now we have the pressing fog, the spooky time of day, and this is Fort Bolden.
Yes, so as you can already see with Fort Bolden, it's like the view from the lair towards the east side. There's a new structure there, and like that structure gives obviously like a new vantage point for an attacking team that kind of anchors their attack and gives more flanking options from there. And you could also really see that there were like more paths out, so like the different combat spaces that we had, like think of it almost like a figure of 8 almost in there. Like there's more ways left and right to move around between the different spaces now, and that should just feel a little more dynamic as you go through. And then on this screenshot here, what you can see is that there's also a new window in the tower. So you can't go all the way up to the tower still, but there is like an in-between story accessible from the lair that gives you a couple more vantage points out to the right and the left side on that shot to kind of deal with attackers. But obviously also you might throw stuff in there, right?
Yeah, and we also have a picture from the outside of Fort Bolden here.
Yeah, and then here this is mostly just like how we are better highlighting some of the entrance points. You can see like the whole underground section, like the kind of like it extrudes out a little bit more with the roof extension, and just the flow around the map is just a little bit better with cover, etc.
Yeah, these are some of the bigger changes. There's of course a lot others, and we're gonna look at some other sort of examples. First of all, some line of sight changes.
Yeah, so as you can see here, like, and I think the important piece is the bell tower in the background. So in general, we have removed some of the trees. We've cleared out some of the sidelines, just made it a little bit more so that you actually have these vantage points and you can use them at least to a certain extent. Obviously, you can't shoot 360 all around, but you just in general have, if you go up on towers, etc., like here, you should be able to see a little bit more and use them to advantage a bit more proactively. So as you can see, like throughout, like some of these spaces have just been cleared up a little bit, and some of the trees that really were not there for any gameplay purpose, we decided to chop down in order to kind of add interesting line of sights and give players a chance to have nice fights.
Yeah, I mean, line of sight changes are of course very important, but we also added a bunch of new paths.
Yes, so as you can see here with the boat compound, you have like this walkway all the way around. Used to be the case that you couldn't get past that boat there in this direction. Now you can kind of circle all the way around. So just gives you more options to kind of, as an attacker team specifically, find a way in, move around without getting bogged down in the water, and then the whole gameplay kind of coming down to a halt because you don't feel like you can risk going across that area and you're kind of stuck where you are. In a similar way here, we see King Snake. There's like different ways now up on the roofs, like new ramps being added, just to add about the maneuverability in that compound, kind of like find the right way.
Yeah, like a lot of new stairways, ladders, and that kind of paths have been
all
added.
these things, and we'll discover all of those in a lot of detail. As you can see here, like we have like a different stairway leading up on the left side. There's like also some shelter on top. So even the attacking team very close to the building has a bit more cover now. And this is mostly for situations really when there's multiple attackers rolling up on the same area and you don't want to be exposed too much.
Yeah, and of course we added stairs, as I mentioned, ladders, but we also added some new structures.
Yeah, like in this case, for example, we saw it in the previous one already, like you can walk around this entire area. And then in some cases, we've kind of added entire buildings even to some of the compounds. Again, something for you guys to discover along the way.
Here's another
like
example.
a good example here from Moses, right? You see like this new building in front of the lair from the camera has been added, and it's kind of like also serving as like another point a team can kind of seek shelter in case another team rolls up, etc.
Yeah, and we also had some terrain rework. Here's an example. I think this is at King Snake Mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can kind of go up on some of those rocks now that have been accessible before. So we're just opening a bit more paths, at least giving you a chance to access some of the rooftops. In this case, like the tops of those mounts, to be able to use them as firing positions.
Right. So you mentioned openings. So of course we added more windows and openings as well. So let's look at a few small examples of those. For
yeah. So this is, for example, at Quarry, where the building in the north side, now you have full access to the roof. You kind of expand this overhang a little bit, and then from the inside you can kind of scale the roof, which means you can use that also towards the position of the layer from the other direction. Like you kind of use it as a firing position, as you know from many other compounds where this is possible as well.
Another example.
Yeah, here this is actually, you might look at the second floor on the right side. The window has always been there, but we extended the roof underneath it a little bit, so you can actually walk up to that one. So you're not bound to just having to go through the first window when you come up that crane. You actually can go into the second one as well now. So it's like small little things like that. You've already seen the stairway in the back right in the previous shot. So just giving you more options to kind of get close into knife range. For this thing.
And of course with these changes we just wanted to highlight the philosophy of what kind of changes we made, but there's so many changes on DeSalle, so please check it out, and I hope you guys enjoy the fights because it is gonna be awesome and it will look amazing, trust me.
Absolutely.
So but with these DeSalle changes we also did some small tweaks to Bounty Clash.
Yes, so obviously we're introducing a new map, so there should also be nice locations for Bounty Clash on there. So we have new locations, and also we've separated the MMR for Bounty Clash. It's just an important piece, and so last small point here, that you should no longer suffer from like tanking your MMR in one mode and then racing up in the other, having problems. The starting point will be it's a copy of your live MMR as this change goes online, and then they will just naturally evolve each on their own based on your performance in the modes from there.
Yeah, and you mentioned we of course added some new compounds to Bounty Clash since we have DeSalle back, so let's just quickly look at those.
Yeah, so obviously we have Lower DeSalle as a nice location.
That's gonna be so fun.
That was a must have.
Yeah.
Then we have the church area, which is really cool as well, especially like as it leans itself very nicely to like the different attack venues. It's sitting on the hill.
Yeah.
And then we also have for Bolden to give you like a bit of an interesting approach there with a big wall outside. So one of the things that I enjoyed the most during playtesting, if you're lucky and you're close to the underground section, is like if you really rush it, you can just take the lift up and be close to the lair. Other people will be fast as well. It's all been very well timed, but definitely is something you want to try and see if you can maybe capture the layer first.
Yeah, and just to mention, these new Bounty Clash compounds will stick around after the event as well.
Absolutely.
All right, so with that, we are at the end of the presentation for the Judgment of the full event and 2.4. But of course, again, please read the patch notes because there's a lot of stuff in there that we couldn't talk about, smaller changes as well. And we are at the Q&A section. So luckily, we had our lovely moderators collecting questions. So first of all, will DeSalle be available in Bounty Clash? We kind of already answered that.
Yes, it will be, of course. So you will be able to play the new compounds as well as the existing ones in Bounty Clash. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I actually seen a question that we forgot to mention. It was about the Brute in a similar fashion. Is the Brute only for the event or is
No,
it?
the Brute is a new addition, so the Brute will stay afterwards as well. And so like your little forests here and there that you thought are safe spaces, they will no longer be safe spaces. And you should always be careful to listen for potentially some Brute sounds there.
Yeah, so there's some other questions from here or about the bots, which we talked about. So are these guaranteed for new players or?
Yes, so new players, if they are below rank 11, they will encounter like the Hunter bots as an opponent. So it's something for them to kind of like experience and go through, and then obviously if you're being invited by a friend who might already be out there of that range, like you'll just have normal matches instead. So
yeah.
But as a new player, and that means like if the entire team or you as a solo are qualifying, you will play against those bots for the first couple of matches and just have a nice interesting introduction from there.
Yeah, just to re-emphasize, it's until rank 11 only, not after that.
Yes.
Okay. Do you see something you want to answer quickly? Also, could we ask to copy the early questions into the chat for us, because I saw a lot of questions, but of course
we only see the
newest ones. Okay, will the event effigies, the Orwellian effigies, alert when players are nearby?
So this the question comes, I think, from the direction of, is this like the altars we used to have?
Yeah.
No. These are not the altars returning. The Orwellian effigies are basically more like the scarecrows we had. So you just come across them, you destroy them for points. They might be like a little bit up on some points. For example, there's one on a fool's hideout right on the top, which might be a giveaway. If that's destroyed, someone might have been there already, so you want to approach carefully. And you'll find them scattered throughout the world, and they just give you a few event points in addition. But there's no alert mechanic or anything attached to them. You just find them and you can destroy them for a score.
Sounds good. Have there been any fixes with proximity chat? Yes, there will be some fixes in the update, but of course we have to test it in a big live environment.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well. But it does include voice chat fixes, multiple actually. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's been quite a big of an effort to kind of clean up some of the pieces there, make it a bit more reliable, etc. So yeah, again, please refer to the patch notes. You'll see all the details in there, and there's multiple entries for that as well.
Okay.
What else do we have?
Oh wow, that I can't really read.
I can't read that because it's completely yellow. Someone marked the text.
Maybe that's bad. When will Duo be available to matchmake with random third players?
So that's on the list. We'll have more about that soon, but not in this update.
Right. Could we maybe scroll up if that's possible? Oh, no. Okay. Yeah, so I've seen some changes, questions regarding matchmaking, and if we plan to do more changes regarding matchmaking. Of course, you mentioned the Bounty Clash separate MMR. That will be, of course, a big matchmaking change. But are we planning on any other changes? And
so it's an ongoing thing we do all the time. So unknowingly to many of you, we are doing changes to matchmaking all the time. Like we're experimenting, we're looking at the data. This is something we sometimes change on a specific per region basis, etc. So looking how many people are playing at the moment, and therefore the quality of the matchmaking is obviously impacted by this as well. But this is an ongoing thing, and like expect more and more tuning and optimizations as we go, of course. Can we have hunter bots on the firing range also? Like their main purpose really is the onboarding. But that said, maybe in the future we still experiment with more things where we might find them, but we can't talk about this today. But for now, the main purpose for them is really to help new players, and they're a great experience for that. will we ever see a safe trade preset function like with the health bars? So I mentioned this as we talked about the loadout. So in the future, we also want to make sure that you can have loadout presets that include the traits. For this version, though, it's about the equipment primarily, so like the system that you used already. It's just in a nicer way. It's better presented. It's more accessible, and the functionality itself, though, is the same as before.
So someone is asking if Thunder Shower is coming back. I cannot just tell you yet, but as we mentioned, DeSalle will start with 3 time of days now, and we see what happens in the future. So,
why haven't we included Blade Mans in the base game? Well, on one hand, because it's something we've been using in the events, and I'm pretty sure there will be a return of Blade Mancer sometime in the future, whenever there will be. But also, Blade Mancer is something which makes it obviously very easy to restock equipment. So just like we do with Berserker, with other things, expect that to be remaining more on the Scars level so that you can have it as a nice upgrade, but not something you can buy out of the box.
So they asked about the Brute and how you can find them in game. Is it more like a WoW target or more like just a big special AI?
So it is a special AI that you find. So think of it like as like another version of what the Meathead does, as a big enemy really owning the particular space they spawn in. And in this case, though, we'll see the Brute not so much in the build-up areas, like inside the compounds, but we'll see it more in the in-between areas, like the forests, etc. And that bring like a new challenge of navigating those and offer some interesting things. What the Brute also still does is it can give you and drop like a random trait, like the Meathead does. So if you're lucky, so you might go hunting for them specifically in the hopes of finding a couple more traits.
Actually, I've seen a good question for you regarding traps, because that's always your favorite. And I think you kind of answered it, but just to clarify it. So if you have empty slots for it, can you steal other players' traps?
Yes. So if you brought traps, but you might have left them somewhere and didn't pick them up, and you come across some of the same type later on that another player deployed, you can just pick them up and technically steal them and then use them against them in a clever way at a different location. I mean, you were able to disarm the traps before already, and you could just carry them around temporarily, right? Yeah. But they were kind of like the lanterns and the melee weapons you found on the walls, like you're kind of like just a temporary thing. Yeah. Now they really go back in your inventory if you have the space for them, and then you can choose when to kind of bring them back and don't have to carry them around manually half the map.
Sounds really good.
Are we planning to improve the reconnect function? Yes, always. So something we're looking into continuously. I think there's 1 or 2 bug fixes even in this update also around it, but it's something which is very complex, and there's many different angles of why this could fail. So this is definitely being investigated and will continue to be investigated. It's just an important thing to work.
Would you consider loadout for re-queuing for the in-game death screen? So I guess people ask if they could already make a loadout while they're there.
I mean, it would technically be a possibility, but we don't really think it's the best of ideas at the moment to do that. We want the players to go back to the lobby. We want them to be conscious about like what to do. Also, if you would not really be queuing directly into the same map again, then there isn't really any benefit to it as well, because you still need to load into a new map potentially. So we think just going cleanly back to the menu, like having this as a cut point, saying like, okay, well, mission is complete, and now you try again with a properly built up hunter. It's just a core loop piece for us to retain.
Yeah. Will there be new Bloodborne store items? So actually, I think we can talk about that.
So there's definitely also new Bloodborne items coming. One of them will be Adultery Alice, one of the main protagonists / antagonists.
And maybe there's more versions. Yeah.
and so like she comes in 2 variants as well, and she'll be a Bloodborne hunter that you can purchase separately.
I think this one is for you, Dennis. Are you happy with the scarce ammo system?
Yes and no. So the scarce ammo system, it does one thing already pretty well, which is like it gives us a chance to kind of almost park and make less accessible some of the ammo types which are more problematic without necessarily having to fully remove them from the game. We still need to continue working on it though. Like we've kind of switched around which ammo types are affected by it case by case per update. Expect more in that direction as well moving forward, but to what extent, that's to be determined. But in general, like the ability to find stuff in the world that you can't purchase in the store, what we've seen with the traits, for example, with some of the ammunition, that's something we feel is very strong and gives you like upgrade points in terms of like something I can use in the world that I cannot otherwise get. upgrade my hunter right there by play, and it kind of rewards people going for exploration and figuring this out. And obviously many of those upgrades are also then part of the sealed rewards as part of our event. So if you have like a gunrunner return, etc. So it would be problematic if some of these scarce pieces would be just there all the time, and ammunition is one of those. So I think it's a good system to have. Are we there yet from a balancing point of view or have the right things? No, but it's something we will continue working on and switch around a little bit.
Right. I see a lot of people asked about region lock and counter ping abusers. We actually already implemented some changes in this regard, and we even have a blog posted where we discussed what we changed. And it is something that we are still investigating and will be making changes. We are actively working on this issue, and please keep an eye out for changes. But of course, it's something that's on our radar. And
it's ongoing, it's on the radar, and there will be more in that direction, of course.
Is the bounty hunt KD stay as it is now, or as you're adding new MMR to Bounty Clash, I guess they mean it will be two separate KDs or one KD?
So the KD at the moment is unaffected from it. That's maybe a possible future step. Right now we've been focusing on the MMR scores because that's been the pain point from the community, and we wanted to address that with a priority.
Is the Brute available on all maps or only DeSalle?
Yes, the Brute is available on all maps.
All right, mods, give us the more pressing, like the last few big questions that you've seen a lot, please.
Plans for more tier hunters. So this means like the hunter evolution, where you can upgrade these hunters. So as we mentioned in the past, like we want to bring back lots of the contents that we didn't yet fully update to the new engine version over time. So expect more of that in the future. Just nothing for this update, but we talk more about this in the future updates for sure. Lots of hunters people are waiting for.
I don't know if you have anything to say about the replay or to the...
Still a very important point for us, but nothing we can talk about right now.
Will proximity chat be turned on as default?
It technically is. I mean, you have two different buttons to engage in the team chat, which has taken over the button mapping that we used to have for proximity chat, but there is a separate one for proximity chat. So technically you can always talk in both of those simultaneously. It just depends on the button you press. So there is no really mode to switch between them, but one talks in one and one talks in the other.
Right. I'm not sure if you have an answer for this, but do we have any fixes in this update to the PS5 Pro crashes that's been reported?
I'm pretty sure I've seen a lot of bug fixes especially on the crashing front across all platforms. So again, if you're looking for a particular crash, pretty sure that's going to be listed up in the patch notes. So just have a look at it there. But stability and performance, as I mentioned in the beginning, we're still in this sort of like just general health update state where we want to make sure we have the right changes, we have the right improvements, and stability and performance specifically across the platforms is just one of the major goals we have, because no matter what cool features we add, if you can't play the game properly, like what's the point? So obviously that's very, very high up on our list.
Yeah. Just to touch on the patch notes, of course on Steam it's very simple. You can find it on Steam for PC. Yeah. But for console, we always have it posted at least on Reddit. So for PlayStation players, that you will definitely find the console patch notes on Reddit if you don't know where to look. Okay, last questions here. Are we planning to do a drag and drop feature for the guns in the menu?
Not at the moment. It's something which is not completely off the rails, but at the moment, from our video that we released earlier in the year, like it's more important right now that we go through a lot of our screens and update and bring them to the best level in terms of the user experience behind them. So once we have done that, we can see what the future holds. But right now, it's more important for us to kind of tackle these different areas of the game and improve and kind of get new features in and make sure this works. Drag and drop isn't on the highest priority list there.
Of course. And the most important question, where can you get these shirts? So a new merch will be available with the event. So of course this is I think the Fool's Miracle drug merch. It will be available on the usual Amazon stores. We also will have displays as usual, so please check those out. And I think we can bring it to the end of the Q&A segment. Please, again, leave your most asked questions below this video stream, or just leave it on Reddit, collect it somewhere. And we may even do just Q&A streams in the future if we can, where we try to answer you. Or we may just end up in the comment section and just answering you if you see something.
Tell us what you think about this new format. Also, like, big
Cool.
nod to the big cool wall of guns we have behind us. Like, so people have been working really hard setting up this new streaming room of ours. So obviously we want to make use of it, and there will be more streams in different areas moving forward. So.
And of course, it was a bit nerve-wracking to do
Ah,
it for the
it's like-
first time here.
How long did we take a break now? It was almost 2 years now, right?
Yeah, almost 2 years with DevStream. So, and it's a completely new format. So of course, it's also new to us. But thank you for watching, tuning in, and a big thank to the teams behind it. So, our producer Nixa, you guys may know him. Our audio guys, thank you so much. Shout out to Port Sulphur Band for all the cool songs, and you can already pre-save the brand new song for the event on Spotify. And again, thank you for watching. We really appreciate everyone. And we will see you in just 2 days in the event. And then, of course, we'll have some gameplay streams too to play along with you and to chat to you more. And maybe we will already answer some questions there from the
Absolutely.
community team. So see you there, guys. Dennis, thank you for joining me.
Thanks
It was
for
so
having me.
fun. And yeah, see you in the...
See you in DeSalle.
Soil anchors bay, roots the forest veins, ruthless retribution, lock the garden gate. I say my lines and I make you believe. Predator, prey, and the wolf bears its teeth. The center of the orchard, I wait here in the dark. You think that I